I got this. I got it. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna just call this meeting to order at 6:23 p.m. Thanks for meeting us with order, please.
We ask for the wisdom to make good decisions, to speak with confidence and listen with compassion, and to work together to create a better way of life for the people of West Warwick. Amen.
Any questions?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Councilman Dennison,
Here.
Councilman Liccardi,
Here.
Councilman Messier,
Here.
Council Vice President Williamson.
Here.
Council President Goslin.
Here.
Quorum is declared. I will now take nominations for Town Council President.
I nominate David Goslin for Town Council President.
Second.
Nomination.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We'll give you the gavel back, President Goslin.
We could just pass it.
Thank you once again for supporting me as president, and I hope to support you over the next term. You read the next one, or do you want me to read?
It's all yours now.
All right. I'd like to nominate Mary Beth Williamson as vice president. A second. Moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Oh, Thank you,
Congratulations.
thank you. And we have to do this every couple of years, but as far as I'm concerned, we're all one group and we all have an equal vote and an equal say. And that's very important to me, and I think we work very well together. So thank you for the confidence.
Ordinances, first reading of ordinance 2024-23, adding section 11.5-5-5.51, service of process to the code of ordinances.
Move the ordinance.
Second. Move and second. Discussion? Al?
This is a situation where up until recently, within our code of ordinances for the municipal code, we've had no ordinance regarding service of process. Service of process is when a matter is brought to the court, the service made upon the defendant that they've got to be in court, or if there's a witness, the service made upon the witness. The reason, I don't know why it was never put in originally, but in general, we followed the district court rules of procedure, and we never had any questions raised about us having service. Recently, we had a situation where the district court rules now primarily have their service based on electronic filing. Needless to say, we don't have electronic filing here. We had an attorney who, we made our service like we've always done, and an attorney raised an issue with Chuck that the service wasn't valid because it didn't exactly follow the district court rules. So came to me and I wrote to the attorney and I said, here's our ordinance, here's the state laws, here's where we're going. And I copied Judge Asselone. She copied me and the attorney and said this was valid service. Because of that, I then spoke to her and she said to me, why don't we have it in our ordinance? So basically what I'm presenting to you is the district court rules of procedure that I've worked with to set them so that we will have rules of process within our own code for our municipal code. I prepared a set, I sent them to Judge Asselone, she went home, she made some changes and sent them back, and that's what I'm presenting to you. In addition to this, and this isn't before you, but so you have the full picture on it, in the service of process, it states these 5 or 6 things that the manners in which service can be made. In the past, it was made and that was the end of it. At Judge Aslone's suggestion, we're going a step further. Once that service is made, person in the building office who has overseen that service is going to fill out an affidavit that I, Chuck Davy, swear that on such and such a date, service was made this way. It'll be notarized and put in the court file, so that in the future, we won't have any problems that our service, we weren't following district court rules. We'll have our own set of rules that both Judge Astlon and I are in agreement will be worthwhile.
So you mentioned electronic filing at the beginning of you talking to us.
That's in the
That's not
district-
here.
No, that's the district court,
Oh, yeah, but is it something that we would ever consider doing?
not.
Says Al, who's, never mind, yeah, who's more than 39 years old, right? Yeah. So I assume that's the way it's going to go at some point, though. So this, having a provision in there to allow us to do that doesn't make sense. We'll just amend it if and when we have the ability.
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
Any questions for Al? Any public discussion on this ordinance? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Jay?
Yes.
Jason? Yes. Mark?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al.
First reading of ordinance 2024-24, amending Appendix C traffic ordinances, stop signs at the intersection of Shady Hill Drive and Quaker Drive.
Move the ordinance.
Second. Moving second.
There's an ordinance.
We've had a lot of
Councilman,
discussion about this.
Had a lot of discussions, putting stop signs, 2 stop signs on Shady Hill at the intersection with Quaker Drive.
And have we resolved, I know we talked about going back to the traffic safety. Did we not do that? We did not do that.
No, I asked,
I heard from the major and he said that, that he was good with proceeding with the 2 stop signs.
Okay. And will that, so will one go on that? When we looked at the picture, it was somebody's front yard, sort of. Is that where that will go? Because I know we also got some information and saw a bump out on Crossbow and,
well, I think that where the circle is, it's going to be a matter of the proper location is determined by the public, building of public works.
oh, works, okay.
To where a logical spot
Okay.
is to put it. I had attached a little map, but you know, you can't really do it unless you're out there on the scene.
Are you good with this, Councilman?
I am good with this.
Any other comments? Any public comment on this ordinance? Hearing none. Jay?
Yes.
Jason? Yes. Mark?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Recuse myself.
New liquor license, Town Council acting as the Liquor Commission. Request from Fusion Latin Caribbean Cuisine Corporation doing business as Fusion Latin Caribbean Cuisine for a Class BV liquor license for premises located at 289 Cowesa Avenue, Units 1 and 2.
Move the license.
Second.
Moving second. For the record, Councilman Messier recused himself. Guess you're the owner.
I am.
How are you?
One of them. Good. How are
Just
you?
state your name and address for the record.
Anthony D'Amato. The address is 289 Weested Ave, Unit 1 and 2, West Warwick.
So what are you opening?
We're looking at February 1st around there.
And you're opening where the old
Silver Crystal was.
silver, because that changed to something else and then never,
I
never
believe
came to
Mama Ties tried to come in and
Never
it
came.
didn't work out
Mama's
for her.
TV, as Dave would.
Mama
right.
TV.
That's right, it wasn't it? That's
See,
right.
I knew it wasn't coming. All right, any questions on this license? Any concerns?
No.
Any public comment on this license? Any concerns? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Congratulations and
Thank
look
you,
forward
guys.
to seeing you open.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Jay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Town Council acting as the Sewer Commission. Approval of Resolution SC 2024-24, awarding sludge removal services to Environmental Protection and Improvement Company LLC.
Move the resolution.
Second. Moving second, Jeff?
Good evening, council. So just to kind of reiterate what we talked about at the last sewer commission meeting, with our current sludge transportation, it's becoming challenging to get to the destination and we're having to use alternate sources. So looking at the alternate sources, we found a railway system that picks up the sludge dumpsters from our facility, brings them to a train station or train dock, and then ships it out across the country for land application. So that's what we're looking to do. Right now, for pricing, if we're doing disposal and transportation, Synagro comes in at about 772,000. That's the cheapest option that we have, but currently it's the most unreliable. Next, we have the Epic Company, which is a subsidiary of Synagro. Their yearly cost would be about $1,089,000. So that would be the second lowest cost. And just the way that it was presented to us and with discussions with the other facility, Fall River, that is using the system, they've had no issues as of yet that I'm aware of.
And just to clarify, if we're paying a lot more than the 700 plus thousand right now, because we're having to bring it to the,
Correct,
Landfill
and I will
bill.
get to that point in momentarily.
sorry.
So no, it's all right. So the most expensive one is Rhode Island Resource. They are fairly reliable, but if we use them throughout the whole year, the cost will be about just under 1.4 million. So while it's reliable, it's just not cost effective for us. So if we start on January 1st, which we're looking to do, the cost would be approximately 66,000 more than our current disposal between the Synagro and landfill combined. So if Synagro shut down sometime in the next fiscal year, during this fiscal year, that cost might even come close, if not surpass, using this new option. Do you have a question, Councilman?
I do, but go ahead.
Oh, no. So that's all I have for now. I'm just open for discussion.
So if something were to happen and they couldn't take us for, I don't know, a week or so, would we be able to use Synagro?
Yes, they are. That's part of the contract. I don't know the
Fallback.
specifics in the contract, but they are the fallback that
Okay.
they will take it for incineration either at the Woonsocket facility or another
And they wouldn't,
nearby
they
location.
wouldn't turn us away because of this contract then?
Correct, because Epic is
Part of
a
it.
It's a
subsidiary.
subsidiary.
I just want to make sure, but
And
that-
so
now
that-
they're turning us away at certain points.
And this is how this whole conversation started, is that Synagro said, hey, Jeff, we want you to talk to our subsidiary about another option for you guys. So that gave me the feeling that they might not want to renew the contract when next fiscal year when it becomes due. So
Sounds like they're trying to push you to that, though.
that's what it seemed like to me. That's why I think this new trailway, trainway option is going to be the best for the facility at this point in time.
So what happens if other facilities, I mean, I'm sure if this works out well,
Mhm.
then the other facility is going to want to jump on board. Would that have any effect on us?
At this time, not that I'm aware of, no. So it's too new in the system because we're going to be the second customer for this in New England to be on the system. So
So your concern is if they overextend themselves, which sometimes happens.
Right.
Yes,
Mhm.
Right,
yeah,
so now all of a sudden they're picking up, 4 other places.
right.
And then we're just in the mix now.
and now we're back to where we were with step one.
Right.
So I don't see that at this point in time. It might be a future conversation down the road, after this contract's over in 3 years, if they get more people on board or more companies. So I'm not concerned with it at this point.
And the truth is the Woonsocket facility has some issues, as we know, because it is shutting down. We don't know where that's going to be or not be. One of the other benefits of using this system is they are covered containers and it's not just a cloth cover. It's a truly a covered enclosed container.
Correct.
And that's an issue that DEM is very happy about.
So help as far as part of DM odor
Right.
control, they think that this will help with the odor control. It might not solve the entire issue,
No.
but it would help with the issue.
So even as they're loaded onto their trucks to take them to where they're completely covered when they're leaving our facility. So that
Right.
can't hurt, that's for sure.
Any other questions for Jeff?
Good job.
Thank you. Oh, the only other thing, council, before, if you're going to pass the resolution, is that the resolution itself says it goes until January of 2028, but it should actually be January of 2027. The contract is correct. The resolution had
The typo.
a typo.
So I'll make an approval to pass this resolution with the amendment that ending termination date is December 31st, 2027.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Business licenses, request from Sacred Heart Church for a raffle license.
Move the raffle license.
Second.
Move a second. Any discussion? Any public discussion on this license? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
New business, discussion of resolutions in support of
Actually,
legislation for,
Sarah, oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
you wanna move?
Nope, go ahead.
I'd like to move 4 to, up to the front, please.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I made my own motion. School
Building
committee update.
Yeah.
Good evening, members of the council. Congratulations on a successful season. My name is Chris Spiegel. I'm a project executive with Left Field Project Management. Left Field is currently the district's owner's project manager. We are in charge of navigating the town and school district through a necessity of construction application process. And we'll pull up the presentation and I'll go into exactly what that is in a second. If we could move to the next slide, we'll talk about our agenda for today. So the first is, again, I will touch on the RIDE process, why it's important, why we need to go through it. This may, again, we've discussed this before, but it has been a few months. I did just want to bring it up again. We'll talk about our schedule. We'll talk about some quantitative and qualitative data points that we've come through recently. I will take a look at the 3 front-running options that we currently have on the table for further discussion, and we'll take questions and discussion at the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. So before you here, we have the first 2 stages of the Rhode Island Department of Education's necessity of construction application process. This is a 4-part process that is mandated by the Department of Education and enshrined in legislative statute that districts need to move forward through if they are going to be using RIDE reimbursable funds for their school construction projects. So what does that mean? That means that a district like West Warwick, if they follow this process and they are approved at every single level throughout, stand to receive at least 65 cents on every dollar that they spend on school construction reimbursed by the state of Rhode Island. What that allows is it allows municipalities to take on transformative and generational projects. This process is modeled on other successful building processes that they have in Massachusetts. Currently, there's about $2 billion worth of work in some stage of the Rhode Island necessity of construction application process throughout Rhode Island. As this group is aware, we completed the first stage, stage 1, in February of last year. During the stage 1 phase, we identified the need. We did comprehensive facilities conditions assessments. We did comprehensive demographic reporting. We did visioning with education's administrators preliminary to develop a list of what the needs are for the district. And I'll go into some of that data here in a second. We are currently in stage 2. Our stage 1 was successfully passed by the Rhode Island Department of Education without any mitigating circumstances. So we are currently in stage 2, which is where we look at all of the issues that were identified during the stage 1. We explore every option available to us. And then we look at those options and we bring forward a project for review by the school building committee, the school committee, and of course the town council that we believe is the right fit in terms of mitigating the most problems that the district might have, with the least taxpayer impact. We are currently at the early phase of this process. So we have gone through an extensive visioning session where we, as school building committee, has seen the deliverables. We meet with tons of teachers. We have community conversations. We meet with parents. There's another community conversation actually just coming up very soon. And we take all of that data and we refine it into a series of options. And I'll go through those in a second. Next slide, please. This next slide outlines a lot of the work that has been going on to date. As you can see, we've had open houses that we had a presence at. We had community conversations. The next community conversation is scheduled for 12/18. I encourage, if you are able, please attend the community conversation. We'll be looking at these 3 options in much more detail that I'll be showing you today. Our target for our submission of the stage 2 submission is February 15th of 2025. if we submit on February 15th, that will then go to the Rhode Island Department of Education for their approval. That will then, if approved, that will then go to the Council on Elementary and Secondary Education at the state level. If approved by that body, a memorandum of agreement will be signed with the district as to a certain amount that they will reimburse for the project. If that is accepted, then the funding options then come into question about how a district in a town like West Warwick would want to fund potential projects. Next slide, please. So this came out of our stage one. So we, as I said, we did comprehensive facilities conditions assessments. As you can see, the Jacobs report was actually commissioned by the state of Rhode Island. The Rouse FCA was done internally by the district because a lot of the work that had been laid out in the Jacobs report had either changed or it had already been completed. As you can see, we're talking about a 5-year need of $41,069,729. That does not address any program needs, so it doesn't address spaces for education. Most importantly, it does not address any of the capacity issues. We'll go into a slide in a second, but you'll see that we have serious capacity issues. And it does not add any 21st century educational spaces. These are just improvements that are needed to keep the district warm, safe, and dry and continue in good operation. It's a substantial amount of money. Projects that would be included in this are some of the ones that you're seeing right now: roof replacements, boiler replacements, things like that.
Chris, I just think it's important to point out that those things that were identified in 17 cost $50 million, and the 2026 cost as projected is $100 million for those same projects. So that's what this slide is setting out. So costs are just through the
So-
roof, and expectations have to
So
be reasonable.
You touch it with a needle. I think another point of this slide is to say that waiting and not addressing these issues does not put you in a better position in the forward. I will speak with all of my experience and say that construction costs are never going to return to what they were pre-COVID. We are currently building schools throughout. We have about $2.5 billion under contract left field in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. Our average cost per square feet of new construction is around $750 a square foot. When I was building schools in Smithfield at the beginning of the pandemic, it was about $540 a square foot. I should also mention that a lot of the needs that are warm, safe, and dry are also often the most expensive. Your mechanical, your electrical, and your plumbing usually generate about 35% of your total construction costs on a project. So unfortunately, it's the things that are not seen that cost the most, but are also the most important for keeping a school functioning. I talked about our capacity issues. This slide, next slide, please. We're going to figure out a cadence. As you can see from this slide, in several areas, the district is very overcrowded by ride standards. At Horgan, you are 12.5% over, Greenbush 25%, John F. Deering at 21%, and West Warwick High at 46%. I should also mention that RIDE likes to be at 75%. So in a case of Greenbush, it's really 50% over what their recommended limit is. This means that you don't have as many spaces as you need to teach. It means that you are not providing the educational programming that the district wants to provide because of a lack of spaces. It creates operational issues, and it's an important metric when you talk about why new construction is often selected by districts, is because of overcrowding and utilization rates. So there's a couple of the qualitative data that I brought up. The next slide starts to talk about some of the quantitative data that we've been pulling through all of these visioning sessions, and it's really helped develop the foundations for the programming moving forward. As you can see, the declining building condition, 50% of schools are in poor condition by RIDE standards. This does not mean that Chris Mann and the facilities team is not doing an excellent job keeping the spaces that you have up to date. It also means that they're very expensive to keep in good operational order. As an example, I've heard Chris tell stories about how they can't find parts for some of the equipment. They have to have parts actually fabricated in order to fit some of the equipment in the schools. Capacity challenges, as I mentioned, there's an increased demand for special education. There's been a 17% rise in IEPs since COVID, which puts immense pressure on the pre-K level. Per state law, we have to offer education, public education to students with IEPs. Now, we're seeing a large rise in IEPs because of COVID. Students that would generally have been out getting the services they need at a younger age, were not able to. This is happening across the state and really across the nation with this rise in IEPs. Also, IEP spaces generally are larger. They accommodate less students. I can tell you from experience working with Chris Mann that he's had to open up additional pre-K classrooms on the fly and pull space from other classes in order to meet these needs on the fly, which is a tremendous operational challenge. It's a credit for him to be able to get that done, but it is a big challenge. Of course, we have a growing senior population. So we're looking at whatever project we do to have some benefit for the community at large. And of course, it's a diverse community, unique neighborhood identities, and a growing dual language population. And this informs these 4 questions that we're asking ourselves on the right hand of the screen. Does the option improve education? Does it address overcrowding? Does it benefit the community at large? And does it reflect who West Warwick is as a town and a school district? In terms of the next slide, program development, these are some goals and priorities. In terms of the primary priority we've been seeing over and over again, no matter who we talk to, 5th grade needs to be reintegrated back into the elementary school level. The difference between a 5th grader and an 8th grader, as anybody who has kids, I know I do, is substantial. There's a tremendous difference between a 5th grader and 8th grader. They need to be in their respective learning areas. Obviously, space and capacity at the middle school, elementary school spaces, specialized education spaces, perhaps an early learning education center for pre-K students, looking at grade level transitions, trying to reduce the transitions. These are priorities. They're not in any really particular order, with the exception of number 1, getting that 5th grade back into the elementary school is almost every single meeting we've had with the public or with any other stakeholder group, that has been their primary concern, get that 5th grade back into the elementary school. So having said that, we'd like to take a look at the next slide. As part of our due diligence process, through the town manager, we have had financial discussions looking at the town's finances and what amounts of money could potentially be available to support a project like this. We have currently running scenarios at approximately 50 million, 60 million, and 75 million. To give you an idea, but again, that's 65% of not just the upfront costs, but interest on your bonds is paid by the Rhode Island Department of Education. So if you were to take out a $50 million bond, 65% of the premium and 65% of the interest rates over a 20 or 30-year term, however you choose to finance it. The bottom line is that these are amounts that we feel that we can deliver a project that meets some of your priorities. As with every project that I'm a part of, there will have to be prioritization and compromise. We're not going to be able to get everything that we want. No school district, including those with $350 million bond amounts, are going to get everything that they want. In the current construction climate, especially here in Rhode Island, where you have over $1.2 billion worth of work all being done at the same time, means that construction prices are going to remain high. We're not going to see any of the relief that we see from interest rates in other areas of the market. So we just need to be concerned. We feel that working with the town manager and finance council, that these are preliminarily reasonable numbers to be targeting. If we look on the next slide, you'll see the 3 most emergent options from all of the work that the school building committee has been doing in terms of our visioning. Option 1A, option 2A, and option 2B. As you can see in all of these options, we get the 5th grade out of the middle school and into the elementary school. We free up space at the middle school, and we also free up space potentially at the high school. I won't go into the details of the options, but one that I did want to highlight is that in option 1A, we're looking at a pre-K through 1 addition renovation at Maisie Quinn and a 2 through 5 reno at the other elementary schools. In option 2A, we're looking at making Maisie Quinn a pre-K through 5 and then doing K through 5 at the other schools. And then option 2B would be looking at a piece of property in town, 30 Payan, as potentially becoming a dedicated pre-K early learning environment, which is incredibly important also with universal pre-K potentially being a major legislative issue, which has generally broad support in the legislature, and then making K through 5 at the other schools with an ad reno as well. Options at the middle school and high school campus, again, are laid out here. I do have our architect with us, Justin Hopkins from Tecton Architects. Oh, he's right here. I apologize. I pointed at you, about to become an architect. If you have any specific questions on the options, we're going into these in much more detail at our community conversation that's coming up on the 18th. I'd be happy to make a more detailed presentation to this committee once we start doing a little bit further refinement of these options. More importantly, we've also developed a list of targeted modifications at all schools throughout the district. And the reason for this is it is a priority of this project to make sure that every educational community benefits from this work. So we're not focused on just one specific school, one specific population, one area of town. We're making sure that our improvements are spread out across the district. This is also important because when you submit an application to the Rhode Island Department of Education, you're not just submitting it for the immediate projects. So let's say you were going to build an addition onto a school and renovate Pan. Your application would actually contain more projects than what you would originally be able to fund. And the reason for that is that if the projects aren't approved by the Rhode Island Department of Education, you cannot receive reimbursement on them. So you add in other projects that you're targeting for future funding. Chris Mann and the school department, led by the superintendent and the school committee, have done an excellent job in receiving grants, tons of grants for their projects. Because those projects are available, they can receive reimbursement on their costs for those projects. If they weren't in your application, you wouldn't be able to receive that reimbursement. So we will be, with the school committee's approval and the school building committee's leadership, we would request to submit an application that's higher than whatever bond amount that we would be pursuing. Simply because if that additional funding did come down the line, we don't want you guys to take on the full cost of that yourself. We'd like the Rhode Island Department of Education to pay their share. The next slide is, again, some more targeted renovations that we have throughout the district. As you can see, every school is touched. We're looking at everything from athletics to lighting controls, code and fire safety, hazardous materials abatement. Everything has been considered and looked at. These are some of the priorities that we've been developed. As I said, we'll further refine the options that we move forward to make sure that we're addressing the highest needs and the projects with the biggest impact. Next slide is for questions. Thank you all for your time today, and happy Thanksgiving.
No, wait.
I'm still full, though.
Any questions for Chris?
So a lot going on, and the next community meeting is December 18th at the auditorium, and get the word out. The more people we have and the more input we have, the better we feel the project will be.
It's 100% true. You know, there's a saying in our industry that changes in design cost nothing, changes in construction cost millions of dollars. So we'd like to get as much input as we can now, so we're not trying to play catch up with needs that are identified later on in the project. So the more input we get, the better informed the design will be, and the most value that you'll get for your money. That's for sure.
Chris, have we solidified a priority list yet? No.
Not a priority list, no. So we've identified all the only thing that I will say is 5th grade into the elementary schools is everybody's number one, no matter who you talk to. And it's also probably the most substantial of the projects that you would take on because it would require some reconfiguration and the creation of space.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
We'll see you on December 18th.
December 18th.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Ready to move on?
Good.
All right. Discussion of resolutions in support of legislation for municipal court lien enforcement.
It's just a discussion. We have no resolution before us yet.
No.
I
I spoke with Mary Beth on this. Several years ago, and Mary Beth was one who couldn't understand why a building office goes out, and I'm sure every one of you has had it. They put complaints down, they go to court, the court finds problems, and they impose liens. And the liens sit there, nothing happens. And there's no way to enforce a lien. And I deal with Mark when we do get settlement offers, where we have properties that are valued at $300,000 and the liens are at 600,000 because there's no way we can enforce them. So trying to figure out if we were the only ones in this boat, several years ago, I started calling various building officials. And it's not us, it's the state. There are no provisions for municipalities. They granted the municipality court the authority to place a lien, but there's nowhere in the state law gives us any way to enforce it. So last year, again, I spoke with Mary Beth and I contacted the speaker and told him about our problem, and he was very sympathetic, and his response was, talk to the League of Cities and Towns. I know Mary Beth and then Mark was there with me with, I know who else, so we spoke to a young lady, told her the problem, said they look into it. We heard no more. And during the course of the legislative season, I follow any legislation that has to do with West Warwick or the planning and zoning. And during that, following that legislation, there was a bill submitted by Representative Jose F. Batista. I don't even know where he's from, but the bill was introduced. And basically what this bill did was it took the Rhode Island general laws that allows the tax assessor to foreclose on tax delinquent property. They put a lien into it. So this bill takes, as an addition, it takes that very same process and it applies it to municipal liens. So that if we get a municipal lien, it gives the town the authority and the right to go and enforce it the same way we enforce our tax liens. The bill was referred to the House Municipal Government and Housing Committee, and then it was referred for further study. That means it died. So what I am here tonight is I would like at your January meeting to present to you a resolution. And the resolution, I would like to have it sent to the Speaker, to the President of the Senate, to our own legislative members, to the League of Cities and Towns. I've spoken with Sarah. It can go out to all of the other municipalities, asking them to get this bill introduced and to support it, because they all have the same problems we do. I don't, when this went in last year, I don't know whether there was any support from anywhere, but it didn't go anywhere. I would like to just, send the resolution out. It can't do us any harm. And hopefully if enough communities get behind it, maybe it'll go somewhere. In addition, at that time, and I would ask that the council contact our own representatives in the legislature to see that the bill gets introduced and to support it.
You can turn around and ask a couple of them right there. Yes.
Put him on the spot.
Yeah,
So Al, what is the end goal though? That's what I want. Like,
The municipal court puts a lien on it. The lien doesn't get paid, we can foreclose. Basically, in its simplest term.
but through my years, I have seen some wacky liens. For instance, high grass. Oh, it's no longer high. They didn't get back to court. They didn't follow the process and come back to court or whatever to pay that fine. And all of a sudden they're up to $250,000, or a retaining wall that collapsed, but they fixed it. And then they got $250,000 in liens because, I'm not looking, we also got to protect the homeowner here and the property owner, because if I understand if they didn't come back and rectify it, or something got screwed up where it never got taken care of, how are we going to rectify that $200,000 lien? I've seen some liens, we've had liens on East Greenwich Ave of $1.5 million, if I remember correctly, 1.2, and we've come back and had to negotiate those liens.
That's what we're doing now.
I don't think it eliminates the negotiation. It just when
That's
that
why I wanna make
comes to
sure.
an end,
Oh,
we
no.
just, we have an avenue to
Yeah,
pursue
that's
to resolve it.
An additional step.
From
If
municipal-
That's
Normally,
correct.
normally the liens today don't get sent to banks or financing institutions. Once this happens, it gets recorded. We could then send it to them. Now they're
Yeah.
put on notice. They're also going to be able to pressure the people that are in the house to get stuff straightened out.
I mean,
Usually, because usually the bank's the last to know, but they're in the first position. So that's why we have to negotiate anyway. We're not, if the mortgage is more than 250,000 and the fine is 250, we're in the third position normally, so we're not going to receive anything close
What's
to that.
happening today is the lien goes on, nothing happens. Lien keeps building, keeps building. The lien ends up getting cleared out in one of two ways. The bank forecloses and we get zero. Or we finally, the property's gonna get sold and I get a call from some lawyer or some buyer, what do I do? And they call us up, I tell them they owe $500,000 on a $200,000 house, make us an offer, and they make us an offer, I send the offer to Mark, and if we're lucky to get 5,000, we feel very happy. Because, you know, with it, the property got that way because they couldn't, most cases, they couldn't keep it up.
will this help us
But-
with the municipal issues in the town? I mean, with the slumlords in town?
Yes,
We have no teeth on a lot of those, and that seems to be a
and-
bigger issue than somebody's
And
grass.
if it's that category, this becomes a big help to
Help,
us,
right.
because right now, those people know they can
Whatever
ignore
they
it.
can do whatever they want.
They
That-
can
That's
sit
part
there.
of the problem. I think people understand that yeah, okay, I got fined, but
I think
if I
David,
don't have to pay it.
the person
Yeah.
you're worried about is a person who once they find it, we work with them.
Right.
We just, with Mark's consent, we just had one where the property had a lien on it. The owner made a number of the repairs, but didn't do it all. And finally, they realized, oh, we got this lien and it's building, what are we gonna do? So with Mark's consent, let's talk to, Chuck, and the interior has all been repaired. It's all exterior work that's gotta be done, painting and woodwork and stuff. So we entered into a release, consent release agreement with them, that they're gonna pay us $5,000 now for the lien. The lien gets released, subject however, to in 6 months from now, if these works that have not presently been done, don't get done, the lien automatically reinstates, because we know that they can't do the painting now, they can't do the woodwork now. I had set it, talking with Chuck, we had set it for 4 months. We got a call back from the owner and saying, look, it's winter, I can't get it done in 4 months. I called Chuck and I said, can you live with 6? And he said, sure. So I signed the consent order. The owner of the property signed the consent order. This Thursday, the judge will introduce it. We'll get our 5,000 for the past that they ignored, and they've got the time to do it. And if it's done by then, they're free and clear. And in every instance, and I think Mark can verify this, we've worked with them, it's just that I'm sure each one of you has had that piece of property, not tall grass. But I know you've talked about the rodents and the what have you, that are in these places that are health hazards. And right now, unless it becomes a situation where the conditions are so bad that the building official has to order the place vacated, we're stuck. So this gives us a tool, and the tool, like any other one, can be used in a sensible way. And I think so far, especially with Chuck and Bob, I think we're dealing, Mark knows about it. We've tried to deal in a very reasonable way and work with it. I know Chuck's goal is, let's get it corrected.
Right.
And I don't mean this the way it's gonna sound, but to get $5,000 and not get it corrected, that's done us no good. It's much better for the town to get these matters resolved, and this I think gives us the tool to do it.
Any questions for Al? we'll see you in January, I guess.
Jen, I've already spoken to Sarah about putting a resolution together to come before you with it.
Rep, you have a question for,
So what he's discussing is House Bill 7322 from the 2024 session was a City of Providence
right,
piece of legislation.
Yep.
So my recommendation or suggestion would be to have the town manager reach out to the City of Providence to find out why they put this bill in, if it's going to be different than what you guys are doing, so they're not doing work that they maybe had a specific reason for their bill, and if it's going to be.
I think that they might have actually mentioned when we talked to the city, the young woman that we talked to, and I don't remember her name. I think she talked about having the Providence delegation, do it, but if we could get the League of Cities and Town behind it,
I believe that's the way it did happen.
yes, but they should be more upfront and out there. Yes. Yes. But thank you.
So
Yeah.
just based on what you said, I looked it up, but yes, that is the bill.
Yeah,
So I would just find
perfect.
out from them why, and then, so you're not spinning your wheels
No.
and duplicating the work.
I don't make
Thank
cakes
you.
from scratch.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Perfect.
thank you.
Thanks, Tommy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Consideration of memorandum of agreement between the town of West Warwick and the Rhode Island Council 94 pertaining to the laboratory technician position at the wastewater treatment facility.
Move the memorandum of agreement.
Second.
Moving seconded, discussion, Mark?
I'll defer to the superintendent and HR director, but the Cliff Note version is we recognized one of the positions there. The job duties have changed over the years, so we spoke to the union, and these folks worked diligently on a corrective action plan, and we think we have an agreement, so.
So there are two positions in the collective bargaining agreement currently, a utility worker and a laboratory tech. There's only one employee filling the utility worker role right now. The lab tech is a position that's been vacant for, I believe, about 20 years, it looked like. Over the 20 years or so, the laboratory work at the plant has grown. That can speak to the increase in demands from DEM on different testing and what have you. So this was supposed to be brought forth during collective bargaining and somehow just kind of fell off the list, unfortunately. But we worked with the union on updating the lab technician job description. We would like to post the lab technician job as it more accurately conveys what that employee is doing, a lot more lab work. We would use the current pay scale that's already in the contract. It comes out to about $2,100 more a year. They can budget for. So that's basically the recommendation that we're looking for.
Is this position currently in the budget now? You currently budgeted for this position now?
No, so it'll be an increase of about $2,112.24 for the contract year.
It's not an increase in
There's
manpower.
there's someone.
All right, that's what-
Yeah,
that's what I
right,
thought.
right,
Yeah, it doesn't add any manpower. It's really just kind of
Changes
reclassifying
it,
the
title,
utility
yeah.
worker
yeah, right,
more accurately into the lab
right.
technician role.
But based upon having an open position of people out on medical leave, it'll help offset the cost of the $2,100 additional dollars for the year.
Any questions on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution authorizing the allocation of a percentage of recreation rental fees to a restricted account for the approved facility enhancements and maintenance.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Mark?
So I believe we spoke about this a few times,
Many times.
especially during our start off of the American Rescue Plan funding and our significant investment in our recreational facilities. On top of that, during our last session, we revitalized and adjusted some of our fees across the board in town, but some of them were some of the recreation fees. And at the time, we discussed trying to setting up a restricted fund where a percentage, an agreed upon percentage of the revenue collected would be put in a dedicated account. So the people that are paying it and using our facilities now can see some of their investment back. So I drafted this similar to like the rescue recovery funds. I proposed 50%. Just as a matter of information, just so you're aware, in FY '22, our rec revenue was just under $7,000. In FY '23, it was just under 24,000. FY '24, 41,000. Year to date, and so far this year, we're at 20,000, so we're projected to be around 45,000. So half of that amount would be going into this dedicated fund, specifically in my mind for capital type items that we come back for you for approval, to put back into those facilities, whether it's a restroom, a dugout, a batting cage, or, I don't want to use it for daily operational things unless we have perhaps like a significant drought year and we overextended in irrigation, then maybe we could attach to some of this funding. So that's the vision, and I think the resolution adequately points to that.
And withdrawals from this fund will require normal procedures as far as coming through finance, doing approvals.
Finance, bidding, our procurement,
Yep.
procurement rules apply. And in my mind, I still think it should come back to the council because it shouldn't be a daily operational, we need to spend it. We let you know, just like we would the rescue fund or.
So would this be in conjunction with the 1721 fund?
Not in conjunction, but similar fees, certain in lieu of fees go to the 1721 fund and would need council approval.
Mhm.
And it's set up for specific items, whether recreation or open space.
So is there any, for lack of a better term, seed money that we want to, when do you want to start this? How do you want to start it?
I mean, right now, we're in the slow season. I don't think there's a significant amount of rec revenue coming
No,
in.
but you said for this,
But,
well, that's what I was gonna say. So you said there's 20,000 that it's already come in this.
I mean, that would be up to you if you want to
I'm just-
backdate and move it. I would just say upon passage, just to have it be clean, I defer to the finance director on how that would challenge.
You can't hide
Yeah,
back there, Kristen.
I think the town manager is correct on that as passage because we set a budget forward.
Yep.
And the taxpayers
Yep.
voted on their last budget as that, and now.
Yeah, I think our revenues are gonna exceed our budget in this particular case anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with Mark. I think it would be clean upon passage going forward.
Okay.
It would be monthly when I record the revenue, I'd just put half of whatever it is into the special revenue fund.
Okay.
We have one that's called recreation anyway. We could just use that. It's nothing
Okay.
in it.
Proof by the numbers,
But
though.
we'd keep it separate.
It would be in a special
distinct.
revenue fund.
Yes, yeah.
Correct.
Proof by the numbers, though, that the improvements on the field made a big difference in
Absolutely.
revenue, so.
Mhm.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, I think we've talked about it for a long time and it's the right thing to do.
Easy peasy.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Upcoming appointments, Sewer Use Board of Review, appointment to fill a vacancy as an alternate member for a 3-year term. Sewer Use Board of Review, appointment to fill a vacancy as a regular member for a 3-year term. Tax Assessment Board of Review, appointment to fill a vacancy for a 3-year term. School Building Committee, Tree Warden, Recreation Committee, appointment to fill a vacancy for a 3-year term. West Warwick 250th Commission, and Patuxent River Authority, appointment to fill a vacancy for an unexpired term ending June 2026. Public forum.
Before we open up to the public, first I do want to introduce, we did see Rep. Norrie here tonight, and thank you for coming, but we also have right on the side of him newly elected Rep. Earl Reed.
Wow.
But Earl, welcome aboard. I'm looking forward to working with you over the next couple of years, and if you're half the worker Tom is, we'll do good. So, thank you for attending tonight and congratulations. Public comment? Any public comment?
Good evening, John Reed, 62 Andrews Avenue. Last week, there was a mention, we've been discussing drainage issues at Industrial Lane. The town manager said that the issue was between the parties. I just would like to know what the parties are.
My suggestion to the town council is that you can hear Mr. Reed's comments or questions, but you don't have to respond to them, and you can take them under advisement.
I'll defer you. I mean, I can share what my understanding is now, or I can set up a meeting with whoever is interested in doing it. I think Mr. Reed has found something that may shed some light on some matters that I haven't been privy to yet, that he shared with Solicitor DeFiore. But to date, I don't have enough information that says there is a town appropriate response.
Okay.
Yeah.
As of right now, I smell a gag order. Okay? Because I've had an open dialogue with the people that are involved. Maybe not everybody on the council because you're not involved. So I hope that's not true, because nobody said that we're suing you. We've said no demand letters, okay? As I said before, I'm at the forefront of this now, but this isn't just Reed's Landscaping. This is everybody that's down there on Industrial, okay? We've had some meetings. We've already come to the conclusion, a lot of people dropped the ball. That's all said and done. There are solutions to this. One of them we found today. There was a easement that nobody could find. Okay, it was on a plan. It was a lot of language going back and forth. It existed, didn't exist, they can't do it. Okay. We found it today. Mr. Goslin has a copy of it, who's been very good working with me. Mr. DeFiore has been excellent. This isn't us attacking you. We're trying to be proactive. The only way we're gonna be proactive is if we all work together. And at this point, I seem the only one to be able to come up with the paperwork that doesn't belong to me. And you have no idea how frustrating that is, that I gotta go chase the paperwork for the people in the town to do their work. That's kind of absurd. That's almost like I gotta go get my plumber to get my plants so I can put them in the ground. That's about how this is working. Okay?
Okay.
So, it is comical to a way, but it's a little idiotic.
No, and I haven't had a chance to read it, because
Oh,
you
I
handed,
mean-
you handed it to me when I walked in tonight, or when you walked in.
I
but
just got it today.
Is
okay?
that, so let me just clarify, the easement you gave me tonight, is that down the end of the road, or is that the property?
Down the end of the road.
So, and I kind of directed you in whose deed that was under.
And we looked at it, and the language in the deed didn't make any sense to you.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense to me, and didn't make any sense to him. We've never seen a proposed easement written in the body of a deed.
So that easement down the end though, and again, I just want to point out, there's two separate issues here. If you're down on Industrial Lane, where the very end where the two-family houses are, and Rick Nunes' property, there's a swale or entryway into the river that goes into the river. That's one easement. The other concern that was brought up here last meeting was Nunes Lane and the piping there.
That one
That-
haven't
and I will
solved
say
yet, but
this.
Mr. President, if I may, this is not on your agenda.
I understand
All
that.
right, it's not on your agenda.
And-
Mr. Reed, whether he believes it's a gag order or not, has already indicated that there are other parties involved that may have liked to attend this meeting to talk about it.
I
If the council feels it's appropriate, put it on the agenda, or as what the manager said, if there's new evidence that supports whatever claim is being made,
Like I
Me-
said, I just wanted to point out, there's two issues.
right, but it's not on your
One
agenda.
seems to be rectified and we can do that. The town can look at that and go forward from there. The other issue is still not rectified. So I just don't want everybody to think it's one issue. There's two separate issues there. There's Nunes Lane drainage and
Right, but I mean,
Industrial lane
as far as public documentation and transparency, you might have a legitimate claim. I don't know if you do, you don't. There's anything been put in writing
I'm
regarding
not,
a
I'm
statement?
not making any claims.
John,
Oh,
just
so
follow
obviously,
my,
I-
follow my logic. I'm just saying that.
Trying
as
to
it-
have working dialogue, even though there's other people involved, okay? If we all get together, this becomes an organized,
commu-
let's go to court deal. That is what we are trying to avoid.
As am I, but what I'm trying to say is, if you've had individual conversations with members of the council, fine. Individual conversations with the manager or Mr. DiFiore, fine. But there's been nothing as far as the issue as something put in writing so the council can take a look at it and say, okay, do we have the appropriate authority to address this, or does it go someplace else? Or, in the alternative, if there's new information that is either supporting or not supporting your issue, the manager's made a suggestion to meet, everybody can be there, and then decide what the proper course of action is.
We had a previous meeting, not with the council members. I believe David was the only one there from the council. It was
It's my
productive.
ward, so I.
Yeah, it's your ward. That's why I'm working with you. I mean, the other ones, I mean, if it grows into something else where the town has to vote or whatever, then it's everybody's problem. But why am I gonna bring it to them? It's not their problem.
But John, you bring it to them now.
So-
If it's
This
just,
is
if it's
public
just,
discussion.
right, it's which they can't respond as a body.
I'm not asking to respond. I didn't,
So if I may, John, I agree with you, and communication is the key, and I think I've heard the manager say that there's new information, we'll sit down, absolutely, that's what should happen. So I know that I can't intelligently discuss it
reason
because
why
I don't
I'm
know
here.
it.
tonight, okay, instead of sitting in front of my TV,
Yeah,
is because when I heard the words that this is gonna be between the parties, I've heard that before, okay? Those words cost me $165,000.
nobody
Where
wants
the
that.
town looked like a fool, and we won't go there.
No,
Because I'm finding documents now that even make me more mad that this thing went back years and years, but we won't go there, okay? So I have a track record with this. I know where it goes sometimes. and I'm trying to head it off. There are no personality issues here, okay? I have some knowledge. I have a lot of resources in this business. I'm offering to you people for this, okay? That piece of paper, that lady over there is phenomenal. Phenomenal,
this one,
that lady.
no
Your
question about
clerk
that.
Is phenomenal.
That's not on the agenda either, but I agree with you.
don't care if it's on the
Yes,
agenda or not. I wouldn't
yeah.
know. Get gagged too well.
Yeah,
But we can make this happen, okay? And yeah, things happened in the past and paperwork shows up that should have been done and not done.
if we all work together, we can.
The only
yeah.
thing,
can
the only
fix
thing
it.
I ask, John, the only thing I do ask is that we probably all meet together. It's hard, and I understand it's hard, but for you to meet with Al, then meet with me and him, sometimes that
No,
gets
I get that. The
misconstrued
reason why I
also.
do that, okay, is because if I have a conversation with you, it's something in your wheelhouse. All right? I have a conversation with him, it's something that, when this all comes together, as I generally do in business, we all get together, so I don't have to put all these, the pieces are already put together. I've had the conversation with you, had the conversation. We sit at the table, and we're all on the same page.
Yep.
Instead of sitting, okay, let's open the first page. I don't do that. Okay, you know I don't. I'm more proactive than anybody I can think of. Because when I react, it's generally not good. All right,
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Motion to adjourn?
You have something?
Just if you want, a couple announcements for public information. Yard waste will continue to be picked up through the week of December 15th. So you still have a couple weeks to get that out there through that entire week. There's also trees up at the Civic Center. I think there's 5 ward trees, an administrative tree, a school department tree for people that are interested in decorating them. They're up outside the Civic Center. And then finally, Santa on a Fire Truck Town Tour on Sunday night from 4 to 8. Our community engagement work group, internal work group, kind of worked hard to put something together. It's our inaugural effort, or maybe it was done along many years ago, but it'll be back. So that information is available on the website. And obviously we'll reassess this when they're done, see how it was received, how we can make it better moving forward. So that'll be Sunday night, the 8th, from 4 to 8.
Thank you. Thank you. That sounds like gonna be a fun event. Hopefully the car has a good battery. That I'll be driving.
No, I know, guy. Motion to adjourn?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good night. If we don't see you, have a Merry